to back them up. The green flag flies, and we're racing here at Laguna Seca, and they are very, very bunched up at the front here as they make their way towards turn one. Cooper Webster is going to come under fire from a freight train of cars to the inside. 4 wide into turn number 1. 3 wide for the lead of the race now. There's trouble at the back as they all go spinning out of control, and they just about make their way through the first half a dozen cars. And we have a car slipping its way across the circuit. Darkoff has gone for a bit of a tumble. Lead goes to Blake Purdy, who takes a curious line through the corkscrew. Who's that in the background? Jay Hansen and Matt Campbell having a fair old tussle with that corkscrew. A lot of contact made there.
That corkscrew is providing some massive
entertainment. Oh no, mate, straight up and over he goes. And number 5, Justin Rougier, he collects the overpass and he comes to a rest on that pit straight fence. Oh, they're caught 3 wide. Where's the 51 go? 4 wide into the keep. That's not going to work. Fellas sorted out. The 43 gets in there too. The 78, Michael Hammond gets turned sideways. Stephen Owen makes it through as well. Rosenblatt will get side by side with him now. And, Campbell, will he save it? Yes, he can. Of course he can. Steve Owen goes through. So does Ben Rothberg. Yeah, they are.
You wouldn't make it flat out, I don't think.
Purdy barely made it. McMillan's gone for a roll as well, and that's not going to be particularly helpful for that one. Stewart got by Cooper Webster.
Sometimes you just got to lick the stamp and send it.
I don't know what happened on there. I just plucked her in first, gave some gentle. Fuck yeah. Sorry.
You are racing with other people. And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
We go green for 40 minutes of racing around Monza.
Look at defense by Ethan Grigol, just getting so punchy.
And a brilliant getaway already from Josh Rogers.
2 pro drivers going at it here between Dylan O'Keefe and Nick Foster.
Stanaway's demoted to 3rd. Webster wins week 9 here at Sebring. Through the final corner. That's a huge slide for Cooper Murray. He's just trying to barge their way through, and that's that's a merry-go-round for Nick Burkett. Campbell, Paolo Gaon, and Ferraris behind. Glenn Wood actually was flipped into the barriers. One of the most exciting pirouettes I've seen in quite some time. That's Van Gisbergen, and his day is done. Tell you what, if Calvin wins this race, I wouldn't be surprised. He's all 4 wheels up the racetrack. Wow, but he just saves it on the apex.
Contact almost made side by side through the elevation change, and Scotty McLaughlin has the move done, but he got over the crest. And
What a send!
Dylan O'Keefe sends it up to the inside, can't do anything with it.
Shane Van Gisbergen already on the attack.
It begins and sending has begun.
And it's going to be a drag race to the line. Tuesday night is rapidly becoming a night to lick the stamp. Send it.
I forgot I was helping commentate here. I was just sitting back in my jocks and
Hello and welcome to Just Send It, a series that welcomes huge sends, big bombs and sick blocks down the straight. We're at Catalunya tonight using the historical Formula One layout with the big boys, the BMW M8 GTE. Tonight's broadcast on SimSpeed is brought to you by Melbourne Performance Centre, Jack Technologies, Digital Marketing Tribe, Erebus Motorsport, and SimWorks Race Simulators. I'm David Sanford. Alongside me tonight is Lockie Mansell. Lockie, welcome back, mate. How are you going?
Good evening, David. Very well, thank you. Great to be back on commentary for Just Send It, week number 10. We saw some fantastic sends at the famed Laguna Seca circuit with the Stadium Super Trucks last week. Let's see what the BMW pilots could do here at the classic Barcelona circuit this week.
Yeah, that's right. Last week was pretty entertaining. On your on your grid, Cooper Webster poles it tonight in front of Jackson Susan Harlow in number 2, Gary Hamilton, Cody Bircher 3rd and 4th, Mitch McLeod in 5th, Dylan Shepherd making a comeback in 6th place, Michael Rosenblatt in 7th, Brad Newman in 8th, Job Stewart and Blake Nick round out your top. Glenn Postlethwaite in 11th place tonight, Brenton Hobson 12th, Zach Bates, Stephen Owen in 13th, 14th, Andrew Lay and Ruben Goodall in 16th, Carl Raper in 17th, Jordan Caruso in 18th, Jared Philsell in 19th, and Mitchell de Jong making an appearance tonight in 20th place.
Yeah, exciting to have Mitchell de Jong as part of the field this evening. Be interesting to see how he goes starting out of grid position 20, a driver with lots of international sim racing accomplishments. Running down through the rest of the field, Matthew Trotman in 21st position, Josh Rogers a bit out of position in 22nd, but watch for him to fight through the field. We look back down over the page, we've got Dylan Carroll a bit further back, Marigo Vartanian out of 32nd spot back to Josh Morris, Sam Christensen, Will Longmore, the Hyundai XL driver out of position number 35. Looking down towards the tail end of the field, race slow, rounding out our starters for this 40-minute race around the Catalunya circuit in Barcelona.
Yeah, I tell you what, in the lead there, Cooper Webster got off to a pretty, I don't know about that start. I'm trying to look through. Cooper Webster seems to have jumped away clean in front of Gary Hamilton, and Jackson Susan Harlow fired all the way back to 4th place off that front row. So turn 1 here at Catalunya makes it a little bit difficult. As we can see, Dwayne Priest is off the road here. He's off the road in turn 2. Cody Birch has done well to stay in that top 5 though.
We all hold our breath as they head through the first couple of corners. We can see a couple of drivers spinning out in the background, but all of our front runners seem to have made it through that first chicane cleanly. But as I suggested, a couple of incidents a bit further back in the pack involving a few drivers, including Dwayne Priest. Looking back up towards the front of the field, Cody Bircher, the Australian Formula Ford Championship contender, looking to the outside of Jackson Susan Harlow as they head down into the tight left-hander at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, so tonight, as I said, we're using the historical layout. So we don't have the tiny little hairpin that you'd see in your usual series like Formula One and everything like that. It's more of a big sweeping, as we can see them all concertina through off that long straight up the hill from the right-hander. So everyone's going to have a bit of an easier time. Maybe the organisers for Just Send It should have chucked that little hairpin in because, you know, Just Send It is the name, but it doesn't really matter. But Cooper Webster seemed to have broken away from Gary Hamilton here. Jackson Susan Harlow's struggling a bit. He's made his way back into 3rd place. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see if he can make it back to Gary Hamilton and then fire into Cooper Webster. Those two have been battling all season. So as we look back through the field, though, everything's filing through. The field in one lap is so spread out as we've already got some people coming in to take some fast repairs. It's Jared Philsell and Ben McKellen coming in. So those guys, I don't know, there's always some yellow flags here and Just Send It, and maybe we'll see one tonight that'll pile back the field or something, and those guys can make their way back through the field. So I'm not too sure, Lucky. We can see through the field though, two guys having a bit of fun. This is what's great about this series is you can get in, you can race with anyone. It doesn't matter what pace you are. From 1st to 50th, you've always got someone pretty good to race, and that's why we can always see pretty good battles throughout the field. And we saw a car around there. I'm pretty sure that was Joshua Rogers, and hopefully we can get Jay Kennedy on the cameras to do a replay for that one. But it was definitely a Coanda car, and you can see in the background there he's got a bit of a bumper broken, and so we can see probably what happened here. No, here we go. Replay is going. There we go. What's going on here? I can't even tell who that is. They all look the same, the Coanda cars. Oh, it's Rogers. So he's gone to make a move into the old hairpin, and nothing's really happened for him. It's a pretty good pass though. I'm not sure if we've got the right replay, but that's all right. It doesn't really matter. I'd like to note though, Gary Hamilton's just done the fastest lap of the race. Somehow he has lost half a second on Cooper Webster, so maybe that was the lap of his life that he's just done trying to catch Cooper.
Problem for Mitchell de Jong. Sorry to jump over the top of you there, David, but I was having a couple of technical issues at my end, which meant that I couldn't see what was going on, but they're now resolved. I can now see what is going on, thankfully, and de Jong there making a mistake into that tight left-hand hairpin.
Yeah, that's right. So, Justin Howe, Nick Carroll, actually. So, I noticed there was a few Red Bull liveries around, and I was wondering who that was. I was thinking maybe, hey, hang on, is there Sebastian Job or something that I've missed here? But nope, it's all of the pro drivers. It's all of the... Nick Carroll has just been sent. He's just been put clean into the wall by Carl Raper of Fusion Sim Racing. Carl's not broken.
Carl Raper, big send. Don't know if that counts as maybe a failed send because it wasn't really what you would describe as a clean pass, but Cooper Webster just managing the margin to the cars behind him at the moment. And Cooper Webster, he is in stunning, crushing form in the Just Send It series at the moment. He got the race victory with that spectacular last lap passing manoeuvre on Glenn Postlethwaite at Laguna Seca in the trucks last week. And right now, from pole position, he is leading the field and showing them a clean pair of heels.
Yeah, that's right. Garrett Hamilton's shown up tonight, and he's had a brilliant race so far. He's still in front of Jackson Susan-Harlow. I picked Jackson to pass him, but Jackson hasn't really lost much time on Cooper. He's actually stayed the same throughout the whole race. It's passing Cody Bircher, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But Joshua K. Rogers up the inside of Brad Newman, or is it Dylan Shepherd here, and he makes that pass stick into turn 4 quite nicely, as you can imagine. This man using the BMW M8 GTE to win the VRS GT World title this year. And hopefully in the future, I don't know, 2-3 months down the track, he's got the Porsche Esports Super Cup that we've been commentating the qualifying series for at SimSpeed, and he can make it 2 in a row for the Aussies.
A couple of other cars off the road, including Jared Filsell. So there's been some contact and a bit of drama a bit further back in the pack. Let's pick up a replay and see what's happened. This is down at turns 1 and 2. Oh, and Jared Filsell's just been turned around by Blake Neck. Cars go skating off the circuit.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a bust up there. Unfortunately, Jared's gone into the pits for some reason early on, and now he's been fired down the field, and he's just been, I don't know, he's just been turned around, and Justin Ho's managed to be turned around by he's reversed clean back onto the circuit, but he's going to save it and flick spin on the inside after he spun on that little anti-cut curb, and that's why it's an anti-cut curb. It's to stop you cutting the course. And Gary Hamilton looking to white line. He's thrown Jackson Susan-Harlow almost on the grass. Can Harlow keep it? He's going to get a really good pass. He gives him the door on the way through, and he'll get it done. He's only just 2 seconds behind Cooper now, so it'll be interesting to see with 33 minutes on the race time left if Jackson can make it all the way up to Cooper, and it's dropped all the way back to 2.4 seconds, so he's got a bit of work to do, Lockie.
That was a great pass from Jackson Susan-Harlow. I'll tell you what, Gary Hamilton did not make it easy. He squeezed Susan-Harlow right across to the white line on pit straight, but Susan-Harlow committed to the move, slid down the inside, and he's now off chasing after Cooper Webster. The margin 2.5 seconds between first and second position.
Yeah, that's right. And in a move like that, if you're going to white line like that, you've got to make sure you brake just as deep as the guy that's sending, because Gary just let him have that, and it was easy done for Jackson in the end. And now Cody Birch is right of Gary Hamilton, so he definitely has something to worry about. Hopefully he doesn't fall out of the podium spot, but Zach Bates having a pretty good race here. He was doing a lot of practice with my teammate Bailey Sweeney during the Bathurst 12-hour week. Unfortunately, I didn't see Zach race, but I know that he had a lot of pace. He was definitely a little bit quicker than me, and he's here battling with Dylan Shepherd and Brad Newman, the two One Performance Racing drivers, and Joshua Rogers seems to have gotten through them both. So maybe we could see not Jackson, but Josh Rogers moving up and taking that number 1 spot from Cooper with 30 minutes left. I wouldn't count Josh out. He is the best in the world.
And he's setting some pretty good times at the moment as well, Josh Rogers. He's made up 16 positions since the start of this race. Keep in mind that we will have pit stops to be taken by every car in the field. They'll have to come in and splash some fuel into these BMW M8 race cars. We'll generally see that around the mid part of the race. There will be a safety car that will come out at some point as well, so strategic variation to be thrown into the equation just to mix things up a little bit. But good to see that we've got a number of real-life drivers competing, as we always do have in the Just Send It series, as we've got Tyler Howard off the road. He's gone off in a very weird spot there, the right-hand side of the circuit on the approach to turn 1.
Yeah, we'll get to see what he's done here. So he's coming down the straight. This is a pretty heavy braking zone. You brake about 150 meters out, and he... Okay, maybe a technical issue? Maybe he just decided that he didn't want to race anymore. We can see on the in-car, maybe it was a technical issue. He's coming down the straight, and all of a sudden... Okay, that is not a technical issue. That's just sending it into the fence by Tyler Howard too.
Maybe he bumps the steering wheel or something there. That was very, very unusual incident. Of course, it happened before the braking zone for turn 1.
Yeah, that was way before the braking zone. I thought maybe he had hit the grass and gone into the fence or something, but Tyler Howard perhaps just didn't want to race anymore, and he sacrificed. It's turned into a sacrificial lamb, and hopefully the guys on track can fix that fence up, because he absolutely smacked that fence, I tell you. But we move forward.
The battle.
Yeah,
between Zach Bates and Dylan Shepherd. So Bates putting the pressure on Shepherd as they head down into turn 1. A couple of drivers with real life racing experience. Dylan Shepherd has done a lot of go-karting. Zach Bates has been racing in the New South Wales Formula Ford Championship. And Zach Bates is also part of the Bates dynasty. He is the son of Rick Bates, who, along with his twin brother Neil Bates, a couple of very, very successful rally drivers.
Ah, very good. And I actually had the privilege, I'm quite good friends with Dylan Shepherd. I had the privilege of catching up with him when I was over in Bathurst last week, and I also had the privilege of catching up with you, Lockie. I ran into you in a pizza bar by memory. I had a couple of drinks, but I do slightly remember that, but that was good. So yeah, I caught up with Dylan Shepherd. He was working on the, what car was it? It was the 77, wasn't it? It was the Mercedes AMG Craft Bamboo. That was the one. He was working for Craft Bamboo, and he's now working for Tickford in the V8 Supercar, or the Australian Touring Car Championship.
Virgin Australia Supercars Championship, to give it its correct title.
Yeah, that's right. So he's working for Tickford, and hopefully he has a great year with the boys, Cameron Waters, and I don't actually know what car he's touring on, I'll be honest, but I just know he's there, he told me. But anyway, we're moving forward to Mitchell de Jong, and he seems to have somewhat recovered. I'm not too sure. He's definitely lost some aero. They're going to have to chuck some duct tape on that. Yeah. Plus 7 spots from 2 laps ago, so he's not doing too bad with that damage on the front there, and hopefully that yellow flag, and I'm pretty sure we have a fast repair tonight. I'll have to confirm that, but if we have a fast repair, we'd probably see him moving up the field. And Joshua Rogers, and I'm just hearing from my producer in the background that we can throw the yellow flag whenever we want, so if we're bored, we're going to throw it.
Well, interestingly enough, not a lot of pit stops have happened yet, so if it was to come out now, it would mix things up. According to the timing, the highest place of the cars that's done a pit stop is Jared Filsell, who is in 26th position, just ahead of Ben McMillan. Now, we don't know if those cars are fueled to the end. I think you'll find that the drivers who have stopped so far, most of them...
Cooper Webster.
We're hearing our race-related Cooper Webster's been given a slowdown penalty, so the driver who had been the commanding race leader is going to get relegated back to 3rd position, and that would be, you would imagine, for either exceeding track limits or perhaps making contact with the back marker.
Yeah, so somewhere
that would be what it is.
It wasn't quite... I mean, that is kind of a slowdown penalty. Spinning out in a straight line is almost the same as a slowdown penalty, but that allows Jackson Susan-Harlow of Altus Esports to take the lead, and if these boys have got the commentary in the background, they would want to pit really soon, because the most boring thing in a race is to have a yellow flag late when no one's pitted. So that's just a massive pro tip to everyone that's racing if you listen to the commentary for some reason.
Well, we've got a race on our hands now because that tangle with the back marker for Cooper Webster has relegated him back to 3rd position. We also don't know what damage that might have done to Cooper Webster's car. It could have knocked the steering a bit out of alignment. So Cooper Webster, who looks to be cruising out in the front of this motor race, is now going to have to work hard to try and get his way back up to the front of the field. Had a shot there of a couple of cars in the pits, including Brenton Hobson, who has been a very consistent performer in the second season of Just Send It. If we were to have a championship point score, Brenton Hobson would be at the top of the standings by virtue of the fact that he's had really, really consistent race finishes. More often than not, he's been in the top 5 or 6 in just about every installment of the Just Send It series.
Yeah, that's right. So Brenton O'Brien has been doing well all season. He's a really consistent performer. Whenever you see him racing, he's always there or thereabouts, and he just battles on, and that's what we love in sim racing. So, or Brenton Hobson rather, not Brenton O'Brien. Brenton Hobson, and he's in the E series he was quite consistent too. Cooper Webster's dived into the pits though, so maybe he was listening to the broadcast, or someone involved in his Team Evolution racing team has told him get into the pits now, or I was leaving, I was putting the cat out of the bag sort of thing. So Cooper Webster will file down the field. But people like Jared Fulsow now, there's been a few others, there's Brenton Hobson, now Cooper Webster, so they've all pitted. They might fire back up through the field thanks to track position. It just depends when they decide to pit, what's going to happen then. So Joshua Rogers makes his way up to 4th place though, and he's right on the tail of Cody Bircher now. He was about 2 or 3 seconds back when he first got into that 6th place position at the time before he passed 2 other cars. So he's not doing too bad, and he's just 2.8 seconds off our leader, Jackson Susan-Harlow.
As you mentioned before, though, David, Josh Rogers sporting a fair bit of damage, so it'll be interesting to see if that's something that he chooses to address when he comes in for his pit stop. You would imagine it probably would be. There is Cooper Webster, so having taken his pit stop, he has rejoined the race in 15th position.
Yeah, so Cooper's taken that out, and that's not actually too bad. So sometimes when you do take a pit a little bit early, you get stuck behind people, or you get fired down the field so hard that under the yellow flag, you actually take more time to get down the track than it does for people to pit, and you don't really gain anything. But I think Cooper's done it pretty well here. He's got a bit of a gap that he can just drive away and make some ground on this leader, Jackson, and he's only about 10 seconds behind Mitchell de Jong, who is still yet to pit. Jordan Crusoe, Guy Leach, Carl Raper, Matt Trotman, Andrew Lee, Zach Bates, all of them haven't pitted yet, so pretty much everyone above Cooper is yet to box, so it's going to be an interesting yellow.
And Jordan Caruso, another driver with real-world racing experience. We've seen him competing in the Victorian XL Racing Series and also in the National Sportsman Series, driving the John Goulet owned and built Audi A4. And Jordan Caruso decides that now is the time to peel off into pit lane.
Yeah, everyone's throwing the burley up in the pit lane, so there's obviously a big bust up in there, and we can get some pit lane done. And when this yellow flag comes out, maybe we see the exact same positioning that we saw just before. So Jackson Susan-Harlow manages to come out in front of Cooper Webster as expected after Cooper Webster had that not so much of a slowdown, it was more of a spin out in a straight line against someone else, a lap car I think by memory. So, but it'll be in a pretty interesting race now. So Josh Rogers hasn't pitted yet. There's 22 minutes left on the track. If he is listening to the stream, or someone is listening to the stream, just advise him. I'm not too sure why they would, but I'm sure he's not really bothered. He'll probably just come through the field anyway. So Gary Hamilton's yet to pit, so pretty much everyone in the top 10, they're going to find themselves up Struggle Street pretty soon.
So Jackson Susan-Harlow, having taken his stop, has come out just ahead of Cooper Webster on the racetrack. So they will resume their battle. Their positions 11 and 12 overall in the motor race, but effectively you would say they're probably positions 1 and 2 once you take the pit stops into account.
Yeah, so this is what's really cool about this series is, you can have a bit of a bad run, and even sometimes when you do go a lap down, that yellow flag just helps you get back up as everyone fires down into the pit. So maybe Josh Rogers, he's taken note of who's pitting around him, and Gary Hamilton, Josh Rogers, Cody Bircher, Michael Rosenblatt, pretty much everyone's fired into the pits. Dylan Shepherd stayed out though, so if this yellow flag comes out anytime soon, the One Performance Racing team owner is going to find himself absolutely rocketed down the field and way off the lead pretty much.
Here is Jackson Susan-Harlow being hotly pursued by Cooper Webster. Now, these two drivers should get ahead of everybody who's still in the pit lane. It's going to be pretty close, though, with Gary Hamilton and Josh Rogers exiting the pits side by side. They will emerge in what will be effectively positions 3 and 4. And that's very tight. Josh Rogers around the outside, muscles Gary Hamilton out wide and moves up a spot just as they exit pit lane. So that will move Josh Rogers into what will effectively become 3rd position.
Yeah, that's right. The obviously the V8 twin turbo donkey under the hood for Joshua Rogers was, I don't know, a bit better performing off the corner, and he managed to get a bit of a jump, and Gary Hamilton couldn't hold that position as they touched and rubbed on the way through. And the yellow flag has been thrown, ladies and gentlemen. So Reese Lowe's actually managed to throw a yellow flag at nearly about halfway point. We've got 20 minutes on the circuit left as we just watch this replay, and he comes back out. Gary Hamilton didn't really give him enough room, but Joshua Rogers let him know, I'm still here, this is my spot, and we're going to roll around. And Dylan Shepherd, as I said before, is going to find himself struggling now. He didn't pit, he didn't make anything to do with that, and he is going to go probably a little bit backwards.
Just watching the replay from on board Gary Hamilton's car, and he tried to hang tough around the outside of Josh Rogers at turn 2, but Rogers was having none of it, and in the end it actually cost Gary Hamilton some momentum and dropped him back into the clutches of Cody Bircher. Here's another look at it. You can see that Gary Hamilton trying to stick on the outside of Josh Rogers, which would have then put him on the inside for the next right-hander, and he wasn't able to do so. And by the looks of it, Zach Bates and Dylan Shepherd might have managed to get into the pits just before the safety car was called. So Dylan Shepherd certainly did. Zach Bates, though, has remained on the track, and he will get trapped by the safety car.
Yeah, Dylan Shepherd's lucked out there, and he's actually managed to come out in front of everyone. So I'm not really sure how that ended up. Maybe everyone slowed up as soon as the yellow flag came out, even though they haven't even caught the pace car yet. But it is something that I personally naturally do. When the yellow flag comes out, I'm not going to do quali spec laps just to catch the pace car. I usually do slow down, and maybe Jackson Cooper and Josh and all that were just a victim of that. So Dylan Shepherd has come out in front, I believe, unless I've seen that wrong. So and Zach Bates, as we mentioned, is just stuck. Oh, no, he hasn't. What's going on here? He's been fired down.
I'm wondering if Dylan Shepherd has come into the pits when the pit lane was closed, which is a no-no.
Sometimes the iRacing mechanic that even if you're down coming through the pit entry and you haven't crossed the line yet, yellow flag can come out and it says pit lane's closed and you get a penalty for it. That is actually a thing in the iRacing mechanic, so that's a good point to spot out, Lockie, and it'll be interesting to see what happens as they, for some reason, are going too wide. Maybe Jackson's just playing with them. These guys are good mates through karting and stuff, as we all know. Jackson Susan Harlow competing in the Australian karting title in the last year, and as you said before, Dylan Shepherd, he's an avid karter. He used to get quite into his karting. He's an employee for Tickford Motorsports. Worked for Kelly Racing last year, and he's a crew for factory Mercedes team. So he knows pretty much everyone and everyone.
Zach Bates now in the pits as well, but he's going to drop way down the order. I'm still trying to work out what the story is here with Dylan Shepherd, because he is driving side by side with other people behind the safety car, and we all know that when the safety car is out, you're supposed to be single file. So we'll wait and see exactly what positions everybody ends up in once we get a restart, which we'll do another lap after this one under safety car conditions.
Yeah, we've got one more lap. These long laps, I think by memory, I did some GT3 racing here last week or the week before I went away to Bathurst, and by memory, the lap here is about in the 140s, so a long lap behind the Porsche 911 Cup pace car today. So, or is it a GT4 by memory? I'm not too sure, but speaking of, we do have a few snippets of hopefully we've got the BMW M4 and the M4, yep, and the Porsche GT4 as well coming out soon on iRacing, so I'm not too sure when they're released. Oh, just confirming the Porsche GT4 is out in March, so that's pretty exciting, and there's rumours of there being some sort of championship to support the PESC, but that's still yet to be confirmed as well. Jackson Susan Harlow, though, I think he's breaking his lights button. Maybe he's upset at the pace car, but Dylan Shepherd, as we probably have noticed, has been rocket launch through the field. So I think he got a bit of a pit lane penalty, and for that you get moved to the end of the line, unfortunately, Dylan.
And the other big loser out of that pit stop shuffle, of course, Zach Bates, who was running in the top 10 pretty comfortably before the safety car came out, but because he got trapped at the head of the queue when the safety car entered the circuit and had to then take his pit stop with the field being all bunched up, he's been dropped way back to 14th position.
Yeah, so did he enter a closed pits too? Because he just keeps going back and back and back and back. I'm not too sure. Zach Bates has opened a closed pit, just confirmed in my ear. So that's unfortunate for him, and his race looks to be all but over in terms of some sort of position that he had hoped for. So that's unfortunate for him, but I'm sure he'll make some spots up and have a bit of fun. That's what it's about, this Just End It series. So moving back to the front of the field, though, hopefully we can see Jackson Susan Harlow. There's a bit of a brawl going on now. I think Josh Rogers, our world champion, as before mentioned, with Cooper Webster, Jackson Susan Harlow are top 3 at the moment. Jackson Susan Harlow loves defending, though. I talked to him a fair bit, and something he is quite good at is defending, as we can see in our Australian Touring Car Series on Monday nights, and we've got AUSC and Scops coming up this weekend, so things like that, and you'll see Jackson Susan Harlow just as skills at defending. Back and back, I'm not too sure.
Watch out for Josh Rogers to me on the attack at this race start, though. We know that Josh Rogers is a class act. We know just how good he is in the sim racing scene. He's already made up 19 positions in this race. He came from 22nd on the grid and currently runs in 3rd position behind Jackson Susan Harlow and Cooper Webster.
Yeah, so he's probably the biggest mover tonight, I'm going to assume. On our timing screen, I've still got Dylan Shepherd's in 3rd and Zach Bates is in 1st, but that's before the penalties take place, and that just means Josh Rogers has gone from 22nd to 3rd place. We've got other guys like Harrison Dengate, he's from 36th to 15th tonight. Daniel Aish, though, 48th to 8th, that's 40 positions. He's made up 40 positions tonight, and Adam Camperelli is 38th tonight, so he's done nearly just as good, but there's some serious movers through the field, and unfortunately somehow Job Stewart has gone backwards in the field and just sent it 9th to 12th.
Other big movers, Guy Leach, he's made up 18 positions so far in the race. Dylan Carroll's come up 15 spots as well. Simon Black up 21 positions. And let's not forget the driver who makes up the most positions overall does get awarded the best postman accolade for the evening as the Porsche safety car peels off into pit lane. So it's going to be Jackson Susan Harlow who will get us back into action as racing resumes in week 10 of Just Send It here at the Catalunya circuit, and we've already got some drivers pulling out to pass one another as they head down. Watch out for plenty of action to unfold into turn number 1 as drivers try and make up some early positions here off the restart.
As we saw on screen, Mitchell de Jong was very deep on the brakes back through the field, and he's trying to go around the outside here of, is it Michael Rosenblatt? I can't quite see, but he's might make the move stick. He just gets the overlap, but it doesn't work out for him on the outside as he dives to the inside. Michael goes defensive. Guy Leach around the outside now. So these guys are battling with a World Championship driver, and they're making it stick. It's pretty good from Michael Rosenblatt. He goes defensive once again. No, he doesn't. He goes on the offensive. And there's a huge crash right in front of him. And it's part of like the Red Seas. Is that Moses?
That was Brad Newman getting turned around by, I think Gary Hamilton was involved in that as well. So those drivers were fighting for positions now. Remember, Gary Hamilton was up in the top 5, but his car is now crabbing sideways. So that is Gary Hamilton out of business. Let's check out the replay and find out exactly what happened. So Gary Hamilton was on the outside and he's been absolutely nailed, and that has created a multi-car incident. Actually quite incredible there were not more drivers involved in that contretop, because those two cars ended up parked pretty much on the apex of that corner.
Yeah, that was a really big shunt, and no one could really do anything coming in. I didn't quite see who the hitter was, though. It's Brad Newman. Brad Newman came in with 45,000 horsepower and just drove in like Gary Hamilton wasn't even there. I'm not sure what he was doing. He was trying for a bit of a dive, but he just gave a big shunt, didn't he, Lockie? And that was pretty much his day over, as Gary Hamilton got collected by a few cars on the way past, and we saw his car crabbing through the field. So, you'd be pretty disappointed by getting taken out by something like that with just 11 minutes left to go, and you're thinking like, I'm doing pretty good here, and you get taken out by something like that. But it is what it is. That's the nature of Descendant sometimes. Michael Rosenblatt, though, he's benefited from all of that. He's up to 7th place. He was in 11th the lap before with Mitchell de Jong just in front. Now that's a bit of a mover too. So Mitchell de Jong, we saw earlier on, he was struggling. He had no front bumper, and he went in, took his fast repairs, and now he's looking a little bit better. He's right on the gate of, is it Job Stewart? Yeah, it is. Job Stewart, and he's defending quite nicely. An avid Australian touring car driver on Monday nights, Job Stewart for Pursuit Sim Racing, and I think Mitchell de Jong's going to try and make it stick around the outside here. This is quite a good passing spot, unless Mitchell de Jong can make something happen with the crisscross. Can he make it work? He goes for the outside, up the hill. He's going to go for the over-under once again, and he's going to make it stick. He's got the overlap, and he'll pull away from him down the straight, and this is a bit of a sweeper that you can make those outside moves stick, because it is nice and long, and then you've got that right-hander to cut back on and finish that overlap. But he does it before the right-hander. That was pretty good, Lockie.
Good move there from Mitchell de Jong, because Job Stewart still had the inside when they got down to the hairpin, but Mitchell de Jong was able to sweep around the outside and pick up the position, and Job Stewart now has to play defensive once again, because he's got Michael Rosenblatt closing in onto his rear bumper. At the front of the race, it's Jackson Suzlin-Harlow who continues to lead. Josh Rogers, though, has cleared Cooper Webster, is now up to second position, and he's only 0.6 of a second behind our race leader, Jackson Suzlin-Harlow. So we've got a fight between 3 or 4 cars for the win, heading into the final 10 minutes of this race.
Yeah, that was as we can see, we can see someone just narrowly avoiding a crash there. I'm pretty sure who are we looking at? Job Stewart, unfortunately, and he's done himself a mischief there. He unfortunately spun after coming into turn 1, fighting away with, was it Michael Rosenblatt at the time, and Andrew Lee. So I'm pretty sure Andrew Lee's up the inside here. We'll get to see what happens. Was it a self mistake? He's gone very defensive, and they put it almost 3 wide into turn 1. What's happened? There was just a bit of contact, and on these cars, and there was a bit of shunt, a massive shunt on the way through. On these cars, they've got traction control, they've got, they don't have ABS brakes, but on a traction control car, as soon as you lose the rear, it just wants to keep, going and going, and those, what are they called, latitude slides are quite difficult to hold on.
Here is the battle for the race lead. So Josh Rogers has caught Jackson Suzlin-Harlow. We've seen some great battles between these drivers in previous weeks of Just Send It. Josh Rogers already with 2 race victories to his credit in Season 2 of Just Send It. He'll be looking to make it a 3rd one tonight. He is putting maximum pressure on Jackson Suzlin-Harlow. We've got more dramas. Cohen Attar, that's down at the hairpin. Zach Bates has been involved in an incident down there as well. And Mitchell McLeod, always a driver who is renowned for being in the thick of the action, has been involved in that one as well.
Yeah, Mitch McLeod. So there's someone completely ignoring track limits on the outside of them too. And what seems to have happened? That person's just completely ignored all braking zones too. And Zach Bates got himself a bit of a fright, and he's managed to spin out by himself after someone fired through on the inside. Josh Rogers, though, making a move. He's got a bit of an overlap. And the next corner's his. He'll be on the inside, and this is a really, really hard spot to hold on the outside, Lockie. So Josh Rogers gets it done, but he sends it a little bit deep. Jackson Suzlin-Harlow back on the inside. Josh Rogers goes defensive. They'll go up the hill for the left, right. What's going to happen here? Jackson sends it up the inside, but Josh has got way too much grip on that outside, Lockie.
Josh Rogers right over the curb there on the exit, but was able to carry the momentum through the corner. So lead change. Josh Rogers hits the front with 7.5 minutes to go. And you get the feeling that if Jackson Suzlin-Harlow doesn't challenge back quickly, Josh Rogers will put his head down and do what we know Josh Rogers is so good at doing, and that is controlling a motor race from the front of the field.
Yeah, that's right. He led so many laps this year in all of the series that he's done, from our E-Series that we saw, and we saw the World GT Championship, the Endurance Series, we saw Pesk and everything, and he just does drive away. So unless we see a biblical bomb from Jackson Suzlin-Harlow, Josh Rogers should lead the way for the next 7 laps. But moving through the field now, Jared Fulsell and Andrew Lee have done pretty well. Jared's made it all the way back. We saw earlier on, he got in a bit of an incident, and we can see how he's made this pass stick. It's a little bit similar to what Mitchell de Jong did earlier, but on a different corner. He's just gone clean around the outside of Andrew Lee there, and he'll make it stick through the next right-hander, and obviously he gets in front, gets that overlap done, and he's away. So Jared Filsell into 7th place.
Yeah, good recovery drive for Jared Filsell, so good to see him on the comeback trail. Here is Mitchell de Jong. We saw some really good passes from him a bit earlier on. Another driver who's staged a pretty strong comeback after some early dramas. He's up into the top 5. Looking a bit further back, Andrew Lee and Jordan Caruso fighting over position. That was the contest for 8th and 9th position.
Sorry, I was just drinking some water, but yeah, that's exactly right. Jordan Caruso, a Hyundai XL driver, newly acquainted with Evolution Racing Team. He's doing pretty well tonight. He's up to 8th place. I know he's also an avid driver of the Australian touring car on the iRacing service, and he's not doing too bad. So Cooper Webster, though, right on the bumper of Jackson Susan Harlow. Hopefully Jackson doesn't go from 1st to 3rd after this restart, with Joshua Rogers pulling away by nearly a second now in just a lapse time. He's pulled it out to 0.9 of a second. Cooper Webster hot on the heels of Jackson. Cody Bircher, though, down the field, he's 3 seconds back. Mitchell de Jong, he's trying to chase down Cody Bircher for that, that 4th spot, or it's 4th spot with just 5 minutes to go. He'll round out the final turn now. He's just 3 seconds behind, so with it's maybe about 3 or 4 laps left, Lockie, and as we see someone around, and Mitchell de Jong will be setting quali spec laps to get back up there, but Will Longmore's had a bit of trouble. Let's see what's happened here.
He won all 3 races at Wakefield Park on the weekend in the opening round of the New South Wales XL Series, but things not going so well for Will Longmore in the virtual world tonight. He's another driver who falls victim to the hairpin.
Yeah, that's right. So we seem to try and put it through lead change somehow. Joshua Rogers either would like to see the replay of that, but I'm not too sure what's happened there. As Jackson Harlow goes massive bomb into the left-hander. With the second gap, something must have happened to Rogers. Was it a slowdown into turn 1 or 2? But in any case, it's put Jackson Susan Harlow clean on the heels, and
side by side, here comes Cooper Webster. He'll be the one well placed to capitalise on this. He'll get up the inside of Susan Harlow into 2nd position, but Harlow carries the momentum through the right-hander, and those cars will run side by side down the hill into the hairpin. Susan Harlow, big dive up the inside, and Webster follows him through. They're 3 wide in the battle for the lead. Cooper Webster outbreaks himself, fires it off the racetrack. It's still side by side in the battle for the race lead with Susan Harlow and Rogers through the next sequence of right-handers. Susan Harlow will have the inside line for the next couple of corners, but Rogers has got the superior momentum. They rub doors, they bang panels. There's just under 4 minutes to go, and Rogers with the superior line and the superior exit speed will go through to reclaim the lead. Immediately moves to the inside of the racetrack to fend off Susan Harlow, who decides that he needs to use the pit exit to try and make a dive bomb down the inside into turn 1. The battle continues in earnest between these drivers, and while this is going on, Cody Bircher, who was multiple seconds back, has caught up to make it a 3-way battle for the lead once again.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm also noticing Mitchell de Jong now, he's only 2.7 seconds back. Before that gaggle, he was 5.5 seconds. So he's caught the lead pack in just 3 laps. And now he's not out of the fight with 2 or 3 laps to go on the circuit. This could be pretty spicy, but this top 3 battle seems to be pretty good.
Contact! Josh Rogers is gone. He's been tagged into a spin by Susan Harlow, who went for the dive down the inside, got into the left rear quarter panel of Josh Rogers, and sent the sim racing world champion spinning off the racetrack.
Yeah, so we'll see Jackson Susan Harlow, big dive up the inside, and he had a bit of a lock-up. These latitude sliding cars don't really work well, and it'll be up to Mitchell de Jong to bring the Coanda team home. So Jackson Susan Harlow just sent it a little bit hard, and even though there was enough room, it's quite hard when you're coming into, it's all about that, how your car's cornering and angled for the corner, and obviously Jackson was angled incorrectly that time, and Josh Rogers found himself half spinning, and now he's dropped, what is that? It'll be a fair way off the lead, probably about 6 seconds off the lead now, so we'll see him as he comes around, and that's quite unfortunate end, but in any case, there's a bit of light flashing here by Mitchell de Jong on Cooper Webster. Is that a warning? How you doing? I'm going to pass you?
Well, that's a very easy pass for Mitchell de Jong. It should be a textbook manoeuvre as they head down into turn number 1. This will be the penultimate lap of the motor race, which has absolutely erupted in the last couple of minutes. It was looking to be quite a steady, serene and fairly calm conclusion, but all of a sudden, the battle for the lead reached fever pitch. And we had cars running 2 and 3 wide, battling intensely for position, and it's still not resolved by any stretch of the imagination because there's only 0.6 of a second separating our race leader, Jackson Harlow, from second place Cody Bircher, and only 2.5 seconds separating the top 4 competitors with a lap and a half to go.
Yeah, that's right. So Mitchell de Jong will be setting some pretty good laps, and he'll have to be, I don't know, about a second quicker a lap than Jackson to catch up. And I'm not quite sure if he can do it, but if anyone wants to give Jackson a run, the 0.6 is a massive draft down that big old straight that they're about to come onto in about 3 or 4 corners time. And if he's going to catch Jackson, it's right there. It's into turn 1. Even if he unloads him, just like we've seen all night, I don't think anyone's going to worry about it. It is just send it. But in any case, we've got a replay on screen here, and what seems to have happened, Michael Rosenblatt did fire down through the field, unfortunately. He was running in the top 10, so what's gone on here? Let's just see what's happened. He comes down into the left-hander. Nothing going on yet. We might have gone back a little bit too far, but that's right. We're coming up. Comes up the left-hander. Does he hit this curb? Oh, it's the curb. It's the death curb, and he's straight smack into the fence. The V8 twin turbo. The V8 twin turbo lands heavily in the fence. With Mitchell de Jong now, he's just set the fastest lap of the race. It is the last lap. There's 1.7 seconds on the circuit. Can Mitch de Jong at least get a P2 from Cody Bircher, because he did pull about a second on Cody Bircher that lap, so we'll see by the end of the circuit. Mitch de Jong is coming hammer and fist though. He put 8/10 on Jackson last lap.
Good job by some of those lapped cars just to recognise that the leaders were coming through and moving out of the way to ensure that our race leading contest was not impeded or interrupted in any way. But Mitchell de Jong finishing this race with a wet sail. He's got the lights flashing. They'll be illuminating Cody Bircher's mirrors. He'll have probably a couple of overtaking opportunities left. One will be down into the hairpin. He needs to make sure that he gets a good exit out of this right hand. I think he might be just a little bit too far back though when they get to the braking zone. So that will really leave only one realistic overtaking opportunity for Daniel de Jong, and that will be if he can get a good exit out of the final couple of right-handers, maybe out-drag Bircher on the run to the start-finish line. But I'll tell you what, Just Send It has produced another thriller of a motor race. It looks like it's all going to go Josh Rogers' way, but Jackson Harlow didn't give up. He fought to the end. He had to make a late lunge down the inside of Josh Rogers, but he sent it in fine style, and he is going to win week 10 of Just Send It at Barcelona. Cody Bircher brings it home in second position, and Mitchell de Jong, who had an up-and-down race, will round out the podium, finishing in third place.
Yeah, great finish. Andrew Lee, Guy Leach, Matt Trotman now. Somehow that came up on the time screen. Matt Trotman in 9th place, Andrew Lee, Guy Leach, Mitch McLeod, all coming across the line. So pretty interesting race tonight, pretty good. There was a lot of battles throughout the field. Death curbs making people go into the fence, and other people just wanting to go on the fence, as we saw earlier on. Mark Newton doing pretty well for MFR. He's come through in 21st, and Brenton Hodgson, not too sure what's happened to him, but somehow he came 22nd tonight. We were talking about his consistency that he's got in this series, and we saw him at Monza and all that jazz where can he get the spot? Yes, he will. There'll be no redresses. It's just send it. Brenton Hobson's made a very clean pass on Mark Newton into the final corner. It's not 6th place, it's 21st, but he'll definitely take it.
Here's a replay of that last corner lunge from Brenton Hobson.
Clean.
I think all is fair in love and war, I think, is the way we adjudicate on that particular incident.
Yeah, there's no Hindenburg trials for that one. So
Valentine's Day's on Friday, so I think kissing is acceptable on Just Send It this week.
Just a bit of an unload instead of a full load. Moving on, we've got Jackson Harlow, Logitech G, Altus Esports tonight. Your winner, Cody Bircher in P2. Mitchell de Jong in P3, he managed to make his way through the field quite nicely. Cooper Webster in P4. Josh Rogers, unfortunately, taking a bit of a half spin later on the race with 2-3 laps to go in 5th place. Jared Fulsell makes it back up to 6th after a bit of a argy-bargy earlier on. Jordan Caruso in 7th place. Dylan Carroll in 8th place for ANZ Motorsport. Welcome back, ANZ. 9th place, Matt Trotman and Andrew Lee rounds out your top 10.
Looking outside the top 10, Guy Leach in 11th spot. Mitchell McLeod in 12th. Zach Bates, eventful race for him, finishes up 13th. Ben McMillan in 14th. Back to Jaden Wanzek in 15th position. Mitchell McGarry, Justin Thorne, Will Longmore, Harrison Dengate, and Brenton Hobson gets classified 20th in the final finishing order.
Your next 10, Mark Newton 21st after a really, really nice clean pass by Hobbo in that final corner of the race. I'm sure they'll shake hands over that one, share a couple of long necks. But Gary Hamilton 22nd tonight. Simon Black, thanks for hosting tonight, mate, 23rd. Daniel Aish in the end, he was in 8th place at one point, but it might have been the old pit stop thing. He ends up in 24th. Magnus Rowney is in 25th. Adam, I'm not even going to try that. Adam, Cam Pirelli, you're in 26th, mate. Well done. Reese Lowe in 27th. Michael Rosenblatt. Unfortunately, he was in that top 10, and so was Job Stewart, and they've ended up 28th and 29th. Sam Christensen in 30th.
Carl Raper finishes up in 31st position, back then to Josh Morris in 32nd. Blake Neck in 33rd position, followed by Cohen Attard, Ruben Goodall, back to Hayden Felici, Brad Newman, Emerson Harvey, Dylan Shepherd, and Dwayne Priest completing the top 40.
Yeah, Dylan Shepherd being the sufferer of that pit stop. Missed strategy. Glenn Pozzi, I met him on at Bathurst. He was quite funny. 41st. George Gutierrez in 42nd. Eddie Bestwick in 43rd. Mario Vartanian. That was quite good for me. 44th. 45th, Justin Howe. 46th, Tyler Howard, our wall lover down the back straight with a blown engine. 47th, Nick Carroll tonight. 48th, Stephen Owen, and Will Newell in 49th.
And that completes all of our finishes for week 10 of Just Send It here at Barcelona. Another cracker race. It took a bit of time to build up to a climax, but how good were those final 3 or 4 laps where we had multiple cars battling for the lead?
Yeah, that was pretty good, and Just Send It always seems to do that. There's, it's not always the same people either. Sometimes it's not Cooper, it's not Jackson. Sometimes it is, some people we just get on the series and they all of a sudden they find themselves in the front thanks to strategy, thanks to crashes, and we can see in the background some people are crashing or pushing each other back to the pits. So that's what we love in Just Send It, and thanks to our support tonight, Melbourne Performance Centre, SimWorks Race Simulators, Erebus Motorsport, Jack Technologies, Digital Marketing Tribe, and we are at SimSpeed for Just Send It. We were at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia here, and thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Fantastic. This is GTE racing right now. He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney! Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him. Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?